What's up guys, DGFX here, coming at you with a new video on a breakdown of the 3D scene I did for my Unity trick shot and promo on the Highrise tank explosion. It was a pretty well cooperated 3D scene I put into it, and I've got a lot of requests on how exactly I did it. I'm not going to show you guys exactly how to do it. I'm just going to show you guys exactly the thought process was behind it, which led up to how I created it, and some tips and tricks that might help you guys out. So I was contacted by Unity and they pretty much wanted a promo, kind of like the promo I did for Hype, and it's just something that had some pretty good 3D. It was just everything was well incorporated around. You know, they want something that flow. They wanted kind of a storyline to it. It didn't really present that too much, but they definitely wanted the signature 3D work done. And I was supposed to actually have 2 more 3D scenes, but actually after I sent them the demo, one of the first demos I created of the project, they were well happy with the tank explosion, because I haven't seen too many people actually create something like this, and it was actually something new brought to the table. So I guess I'll kind of show you guys how I did it. And one thing is while I was filming the cinematic, I kind of wanted the tank to thought it'd be really cool to explode, and you know, I didn't want to do all of it practical. I kind of wanted to do something that I had to go out my way to do, but brought a little better result. So what I mean about doing it practical would probably been just having a cinematic of me going around the tank and have someone else with like C4 blowing the tank up at the same time as I'm passing through, and that'd be pretty much what a practical effect would be. You know, it's something that didn't need a computer to create. But instead, I want to have my own signature explosion, you know, because a lot of people at first just thought that's how the tank was supposed to go. And I've had that actually said to me a couple times about my 3D work, that they actually thought it was really there, and that's what I kind of like. I like it to blend in so well, only a trained eye would know exactly that was 3D and it wasn't meant to be there. So that's kind of the thought process of where I was going with this explosion. So let me show you all the original cinematic. Here is the original cinematic. As you can see, it was a pretty clear, clean plate. They didn't have much going. What I mean going is they didn't have much, you know, really covering my work area. As you see right there, it's just the last couple, about 20 frames. The sky kind of gets in the way, and I did want to show some, you know, some examples of me masking around objects to really kind of give it that look that I put the extra effort into creating this as good as I could. So that was the clean plate right there, and all I did was simply drag this into PF track and tracked it out, got me a camera map, and then I brought it into 3ds Max and worked the magic there. So here's what the 3D looks like, non-rendered, you know, different point of view than y'all be seeing. So the first thing I created was I based off some tracker points. I was able to put a 3D space. I was able to come there and create this, you know, like cap part of the tank. I didn't need to model the whole tank. I just needed this single part that I was actually destroying. So that's exactly what I did right here. Let me come there and just hide that. And object properties, hide that. So as you see, they got this cap on here. And let's render that. Just render that frame. That's pretty much what it came up with, and to me, that's pretty close. I know the colors aren't perfect, but I can use hue and saturation within After Effects to come there and bring those colors a lot closer together and look like they were rendered from the same render engine. So alright, so that was the first process. Then now the second process was exactly probably the hardest, and I spent probably about 8 hours just on this one scene right here, from the point of getting the cinematic to the point of clicking the render button within 3ds Max. Yeah, that sounds right. At first, unlike many graphic designers, motion graphics artists, pretty much anybody who has to, do something really, I don't really say creative. They have to build something, because this is basically pretty much building. You have to build the scene up, and I pretty much overthought it at first, and I made it a lot more complicated than what it really was, and there was a lot of variables I put into it that were unneeded at first. So as at first, I can't really tell you exactly what I did. I went a little bit out the way with, as you see, all these little particles. They only here for a couple seconds right here. These are all the particles for the fire and Fume effects. And then let me show you what those look like. Let me find, there we go. Oh, that's just a black cap. There we go. As you see, they're only there for a couple seconds and go away, and then they fade off. Now, when I originally was doing it, I had all these particles. I had them coming in, spawning inside this tube and squirting out, but I made all this deflectors. So as soon as they would hit in these, they were losing their initial burst of energy, which Fume effects thrives off of that initial burst of energy as the fire to spawn fire. And so only about 25% of the particles were actually emitting fire, and it just looked horrible. And I probably spent about 2 hours just on that scene, setting everything up and going through some tests. So I finally realized I can just simply put the particles, and it right here is where they spawn. It's not even in the cap, it's right above the cap. And I just have them triggered to spawn the same time as this cap starts to break, and it's where the fire comes out. Before I had them spawning a little farther back, shooting at the cap, and then going up to a target follower way up in the sky to give it that look of particles going up and flowing up like fire does. But at first, yeah, that was just, I overthought the whole scene and made it a little bit more than I really needed. Something as simple as this, and this actually gave it a lot better look. Originally the fire was really, really tall, and it looked really weird. So yeah, so then what I did was, to kind of help with the particles, yeah, when I did create all those particles, this is why I had to create the two tubes you see me a couple seconds ago. Hide, let me unhide by name. I don't know how many, I think it's just this tube and cylinder. Unhide, yeah. Alright, these two, I had these also helping with the deflection of the particles, which I didn't need any of this, so it was all work I created. I didn't need selection, selection. So there we go. Now for the actual simulation of these blocks falling and cracking and stuff to actually make it look like it exploded, and giving it this indentation, this crack scene, I used Rayfire, and pretty much all I did was I had this cap right here. I fragmented it. I set it all up as sleeper objects, and then I came there and use just an object to break it and give it this explosion effect. And for this one, I used a spear because I wanted it kind of wide to really bust through it. And as you see, it came out really good because some of them really fly, and some just kind of hit each other and just fall down. And that's pretty much exactly how I did that. And as you see, for some, like the effects, some of the shadowing, I put 2 plates right here, planes, and I had them kind of aligned to the building as much as I could. And I just put a simple matte shadow on that, and I really gave it a good lighting effect. And then Kansas was this. And here I have sunlight, and then my other one is just a particle thing for fume effects. And also I have a direct sunlight pointed down for my lighting. That's pretty much, that was all for that. Now, to get rid of like the container behind it, all I did was I rendered out another pass, and I deleted everything except this cap, and I disabled the animation on the cap to where it's just this black, and I put a black layer on it to give it, and I rendered it all the way out through. And that's where I was given this right here, just a simple cap, and it worked out great to where now when it explodes, it gives it this black feeling. It screwed up right there, but for the most part, it gives it a good black feeling of emptiness in behind after everything escaped through. Now, so after I rendered it, here was the base layer of the actual 3D work without any of the effects added to it, and as you see right there, that looked pretty good. I really, I respect people who can bring in 3D that's already from a 3D program and composite. Just all the compositing they have to do is pretty drop it in After Effects, and there we go, it looks good like that. I really respect people who can do that. I'm not saying I can, because I know I still have a lot of cleanup I have to do. This fire is really pixelated. That's some blur to kind of smooth it out. You can see that's very bad. And yeah, smoke turned out pretty good. It wasn't as I kind of wanted to really have those blacks and the grays kind of smooth out and give it a little bit more depth. Right now it looks really flat. The smoke looks really flat. And yeah, so after I dropped it into After Effects, the first thing I did was I had to look out for anything at the rotoscope, and right here it's pretty much the first major cause, and it was this guy and this girder, those beams right there. And all I did was duplicate my base footage, and I added a rotoscope effect to it, and that is this one right here. As you see, if we go to the layer, you can see right there I did a rotoscope, and that was actually probably the biggest pain to do with this, but it turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it. As you can see, it goes right over. It's not perfection, but it gives it enough feather to actually kind of look like the smoke is over it a little. And that's pretty much it. Now going to more into adding other like lightning effects and all that. The sun was right here, so I kind of wanted to mock the sun up with optical flares. I gave it a good sun flare look. Like right there, it hits it perfect, because as soon as the sun's visible, it starts to really glare the scene, and all the brights in here actually start to bright up too, or really start to show themselves, so it gives it a really good effect. Now the color correction, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with the color correction because I didn't have it created before I finished the edit. Normally what I do is I do all my scenes and everything, then I come up with a color correction for all of them at the end. So, and color correction came out pretty good. It really kind of brought the fire a little bit more. And the one color correction I had was just a little too dark, and it didn't. I wanted these bricks to kind of show off too right here, or chunks of metal. And yeah, that came out good. And I wanted something also kind of dark to where it would hide this as much as possible, how it didn't come out that great as I wanted. So, but it all came out pretty good, and I'm very happy with it. and also the sun flare kind of adds to it. And lastly, we have the letterbox, simple as that. And that's pretty much just all that went into it. A pretty, I would say, almost basic scene. It was really 3D heavy, and that's what I wanted. That's kind of my passion. I like working with 3D work and everything like that, and doing models and scenes like this. But that's pretty much it, guys. This was DGFX, and I guess I want to call this artist insight. Kind of brought you into exactly what I was thinking and going through when I was approached with this scene right here. And yeah, if you like this, I'll probably do some more. And if you want to check out Unity Trickshot's promo, click below in the description, or I'll have annotations somewhere around here. And that'll be all. Have a good night, guys. Peace.